Hello, guys. Today we're going to be talking about the updated ACEs. This was part of the big patch, and I'm going to be talking to you about what were the major changes, what are the new things that, in my opinion, are OP. And again, we're still waiting to see how everyone's going to react to this, so leave your comment or your opinions in the description below. So let's get started. The very first thing you're going to notice is that the most popular ace in game has finally been nerfed. And when I'm talking about the most popular, I of course mean the Scylla ace. It's been reduced from 45% to 38%. It isn't that huge, but it's still gonna hardly affect those teams. On top of it, even if you're light, you can't even use burst function on it, who really makes it feel weak. And then you're gonna be able to have unconditional aces with 25% DR if you're a mono element. And it's if you get the ace burst, it's basically gonna be the same value. So this is where you're really gonna start seeing things that are equivalent to Scylla's ace, or for Ricer, who's also the exact same ace, and it's gonna kind of make a change. Also, for a lot of people who like to run this, I'm one of those people, the Scylla ace has been changed to what I like to consider a crap ace. A lot of life, critical resistance, but seriously, if you know critical resistance in Monolite, I'm going to ask you to show this to me because I don't know a single totem that does that correctly. But hey, they seem to think that makes sense. So who are the big winners in the ace updates? So right away, I'm going to tell you the winners are Ardor and Thunder, hands down. They have a huge buff coming from this. And when I'm talking about a huge buff, I'm going to show you that one ace right here. Increase attack power and penetration by 30%. Now, if you put ace burst, that becomes 48% penetration bonus to your entire team. That is insane. And this can finally bring back, at least for Ardor and Thunder also has the same ace. This can kind of push back towards the one-hit KO meta for those elements. So if they have this, plus Ardor is known for damage increase, this can be completely broken because they kind of have someone to fill all the key positions. They have Elaine, they have Angela, they have Victoria, 3 broken players. Except for Shu, their legends are also pretty damn good. They have Kevin. It's just going to be, in my opinion, the strongest composition we're going to see currently, unless we're comparing it to a rainbow with a shitload of legends and some really well-rolled stones. But again, that's a more specific kind of thing that requires much more investment than this, who would honestly just require to have Choi and William for it to work perfectly. And then in the Thunder, we have the same thing with Guinevere, who's the exact same ace. And I think Leventor has it too. Yeah, Leventor has penetration max life, who's even more broken. A bit less on the one-hit KO style, but still goddamn broken. Now, why I find this kind of stupid and unfair is because the other elements don't have it, and these two elements have a total of 3 aces with penetration, who kind of really sets them apart from the other monos. So that's the main issue we're going to feel in those. Then in Wyrmwind, with the changes, you have really 2 options now. You can either really push towards critical resistance, who some people are saying could be a good idea. I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes, but is really having an ace just towards critical resistance the smartest move? I don't really know. I mean, King Jin ace could be interesting. Uh, why not? But what I personally think would be the most interesting is Norizel, because you're usually gonna stick her in anyway for the simple reason that she already has a global buff, and she's honestly pretty damn good. And decrease inflicted damage on Wyrmwind attribute players by 25% would be boosted to, I don't know the exact value, I think 36, 37 would be a Scylla ace permanent for the entire team, who I personally think is now going to be the best Wyrmwind ace and would kind of bring Nezorel a bit back because some people kind of replaced her with Metatron. Well, we kind of know why that happens. Now, Light is, in my opinion, the element who they just like shit it on. Because all of the good aces are on the most ridiculous of players. And if we're not looking at that, the other aces are just honestly bad. There's no ace that you could tell yourself, we're going to go towards that one. The only good ace is Scylla, but the thing is Scylla is Rainbow. So I mean, Scylla is rainbow. So why exactly would you need to be mono for this? There's no logical reason why someone would go mono light. And that's what I find kind of sad. As a light user, I was considering going mono light, but it just doesn't make sense. I mean, even the DR ace is Latios. No one's gonna run Latios in mono light. They're all gonna be running Vonchi, who still has his weird ace who no one understands the reason for it. White Guardian, again, pretty cool ace, but it's not going to be affected by Ace Burst. Reflex, there's just no real good ace for Light, who is kind of frustrating. Um, yeah, that's basically the problem. I know the new Legend has an interesting ace, but as they've said themselves, all stages of the aces are going to have the same values. So it kind of means that there's a really low chance they'll ever get a buff, who's really sad. And even Anael Ace, who used to have been completely OP for a Vonchi team, it just, they nerfed it. Okay, a bit of reflex is cool, but if you're running Anael, you're kind of running counterattack resistance in the back line. It's not even worth the speed and reflex compared to totems you could be running. A single Murian could counter and do the exact same thing as an entire ace, who is extremely sad. So Light really got the short end of the stick on the mono aces, and Dark is not far from that condition. They do have some nicer aces, like Janice, increased reflex and max life of Dark players. Some aces, or even Avnor, action speed and max life, are also pretty interesting. They're not going to be as overpowered as the first three elements, but there is honestly some really cool stuff going down here. Then again, you need to know that Dark is really based on reflex, so anything that's going to be reflex life or something like that is pretty cool. Also, what I do want to point out is decrease the inflicted damage. Okay, basically their best ace is Rainbow, so it can be boosted again. This is just a serious problem that both of those elements are going to have, that their best aces are Rainbow. Seriously, stop making it Rainbow. Put a condition on it. Like this, we can finally get it boosted, because going Rainbow sadly tends to make more sense in those teams, who I find is kind of a big problem. Now, one thing I do want to note is, as a lot of us have seen, they've revamped the aces, but for the aces of players with EE, it pretty much, without EE, it pretty much looks like they have equal value to EE aces, and that might kind of mean that the legends are not going to get their aces buffed when they get an E, since all stages have the same ace. I'm not 100% sure, but that would kind of mean that the newer legends are going to have just some cool aces, but with such low values that even with Ace Burst, they might not be that interesting. When I'm saying that, I'm honestly thinking of the light one. She does have some seriously interesting ideas to it, but I don't know if we can really push it. She basically has increased any form of healing on your team. I sadly don't remember her name, but if you see her, you can read it. So I'm going to be putting the link of this in the description. Give me your opinion on what you think the new Ace meta is going to be, and especially for Light and Dark, what do you think is going to be the best Ace? Or even if you're one of the other elements, do you agree with what I said, or do you have a different opinion on what the best Ace for your team would be? Have a good day, guys.